Let's get in here, dude. Saint Row's first story DLC coming soon. Yo, what's the Metacritic on this right now, by the way? Let's go ahead and take a look here. This game did not do well. Very Redfall, you know? This is one of those games that got marketed very heavily again. When did it release? August of last year. Yeah, this is one of those games that got marketed up heavily. And whenever I saw this game, I was like, dude, it looks like they're trying really, really, really hard to appeal to like some kind of like edgy young audience or something. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It just, there was something about it that was a bit weird looking to me. But apparently, this is what you'll get out of the game. For PC, it's a 65 Metascore, user score of 2.4. PS5, even worse, 61 2.4. Xbox Series X, 65 2.9. It's pretty brutal. So this is another. I mean, like, it's kind of wild to me that, look, not that games can't turn around. You know, we've seen it happen, but it's not very common for a game to get released and to be consensus viewed as pretty terrible, to be completely turned around into something pretty solid, to where, you know, you know, and especially when you talk content wise, especially, there's a difference between, neither one are acceptable. But when you talk the difference between a game's releasing and they do really bad because the content sucks, it's really hard to come back from that. We've seen more often games that get released in a real bad performance state. Unfortunately, that should never happen. But we see more often those kinds of games at least get some love from their developers moving forward, turn into something playable, and have some decent content, and so they end up becoming something that people are okay with. Cyberpunk, stuff like that. I still am. I'm one of those people with the mindset like that game should have never released the way it released. I still have an issue looking at that game and going, yeah, I'll spend money on it. Because it should have never released the way it released, and I don't necessarily feel like the developer deserves money for it. So I think that there's something to be said for the developer sticking with the game. And if a developer shows me moving forward, like maybe if it was CDPR, like with Cyberpunk and stuff, if they show me moving forward that their other projects coming out are going to be released in better states and be better and worth money, then I would go back and take a look at something like Cyberpunk and go, okay, yeah, I'll buy into this now. But, that's kind of my stance on it. These games like Saints Row, where, I know it had performance issues too, but apparently the content in the game was just pretty lackluster and not great. You talk about games like that, games like another one we saw here recently that's coming out with new DLC that I was just kind of like, really? We're talking about Gotham Knights. That's a game that's supposed to be pretty terrible content-wise all the way around. Aside from the, 30 frame per second lock and all that stuff on it. These games are coming out with DLC content too. I don't quite see the play unless they just already had a bunch of this content cooked up. That scummy mechanic we talk about a lot, this Saints Row's been out since last August, so it's been out for a while now. But quite often these companies will do this. They'll get the major content, the base part of the game done up, and even before it releases, they'll have a big part of the DLC stuff done already, which really is like in my opinion, stuff that should have been part of the base game quite often, but they're like, oh, well, we should just save this content for later on. That way we can make it DLC and make people pay for that too, you know. Then maybe that's what the case is here. But we see Saints Row coming out with DLC content. We see Gotham Knights coming out with DLC content. And I just don't see people buying into it, man. I mean, the games kind of suck. So they'll probably make a little bit off of it, but I don't see it being a big win or anything. But if they already had all this content like built up, then it's nothing, you know, it's for the developer, it's like, well, why not? Why not push it out, right?